Did you know that in 2025, thousands of Australian seniors will be forced to live in housing that is not only unaffordable but also downright unsafe? Imagine spending your golden years in a cramped apartment, struggling to get up the stairs and feeling isolated because there's no nearby public transport to get around. It sounds like a nightmare, right? But the reality is, this is the situation for many seniors living in some of Australia's largest cities right now. In fact, studies show that nearly 40% of Australian seniors are facing housing issues due to high rents, poor accessibility, and limited social services. So, what's going wrong? Why is housing for seniors in major cities becoming a crisis? In this video, we'll be pulling back the curtain on the 10 worst cities in Australia for senior housing in 2025. From skyrocketing rent prices to a severe lack of accessible housing, these cities are failing to meet the needs of the very people who built the communities we live in today. And some of the shocking facts we'll reveal may surprise you. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll not only know which cities are the worst offenders, but also why it matters to all of us. Let's dive in and see just how dire the situation really is for our seniors. Stay with us. You won't believe what's coming up next. Number 1. High housing costs. When it comes to housing for seniors in Australia, one of the biggest challenges they face is the rapidly rising cost of housing. It's a problem that's becoming more severe with every passing year, particularly in major cities like Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. In 2025, the cost of both buying and renting homes in these cities has reached sky-high levels, making it nearly impossible for seniors on fixed incomes to afford decent housing. Let's break it down. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Sydney has surged to over $500 a week, while in Melbourne, it's not much better, sitting around $450. For a senior living solely on a pension, which is often around $1,000 to $1,500 a fortnight, paying for rent in these cities can easily take up half or more of their entire income. This leaves very little for other essential needs like food, healthcare, or transportation. But it's not just about rent. The property market in cities like Sydney and Melbourne is also inaccessible to most seniors, especially for those looking to buy a home. With property prices continuing to climb at a rapid rate, the dream of owning a home becomes increasingly out of reach. In some cities, over 70% of homes are now out of the price range for the average senior. This is particularly troubling as more and more seniors face the possibility of retirement homelessness. And here's where the problem intensifies. Affordable housing programs are struggling to keep up with demand. While some cities offer initiatives to help, the supply simply doesn't meet the need, leaving many seniors in a housing crisis. It's clear, if we don't address the issue of high housing costs, a significant portion of Australia's senior population will be forced to live in substandard, unaffordable conditions. Number 2. Lack of accessible housing. Imagine this. You've worked hard your entire life, and now that you've retired, the last thing you want to worry about is whether your home is accessible. Yet for many seniors across Australia, this is the harsh reality. Lack of accessible housing has become a growing issue, especially in larger cities where the design of homes hasn't kept pace with the needs of an aging population. In 2025, studies reveal that more than 40% of Australian homes are not suitable for seniors, particularly those with mobility issues. This means that basic features like wide doorways, ramps, or ground-level bathrooms are often missing from homes in major cities. For a senior who relies on a walker or wheelchair, getting in and out of their home or simply moving around can become a monumental challenge. Cities like Sydney and Melbourne, with their older housing stock, are prime examples of areas where accessibility is often overlooked. Staircases, narrow hallways, and bathrooms that can't accommodate mobility aids create obstacles that can lead to falls, injuries, and a reduced quality of life for many seniors. And while some new homes do include accessibility features, they remain in the minority, especially in older, established areas. The solution: cities need to commit to building more accessible housing and upgrading older homes to meet modern standards. Without these changes, seniors will continue to live in environments that aren't conducive to their needs, leading to increased isolation and dependency. The lack of accessible housing is not just a design flaw, it's a crisis that needs immediate attention. Number 3. Insufficient public transport. For seniors, public transport is not just a convenience, it's often a lifeline. However, in many Australian cities, insufficient public transport options are leaving seniors trapped in their homes, unable to get out and live independently. In 2025, the lack of accessible and reliable transportation is becoming one of the most pressing issues for elderly residents, particularly those who no longer drive. In cities like Perth and Brisbane, Public transport networks often do not extend far enough into suburban areas where many seniors reside. This creates a situation where seniors, especially those in outlying suburbs, are isolated from the vibrant city life that younger, more mobile people enjoy. For those who rely on buses or trains, long wait times, infrequent services, and poor coverage are common problems. This not only makes getting around difficult, but also puts seniors at risk of becoming socially isolated, a major factor contributing to mental health issues such as depression and anxiety. In many cities, accessibility issues further complicate the problem. Bus stops and trains are often not designed with seniors in mind, making it hard for those with mobility challenges to board or disembark. Ramps and low-floor buses are rare in some areas, and even when they do exist, they're often poorly maintained or unreliable. Imagine trying to catch a bus with a walker or a wheelchair, only to find there's no ramp or the ramp is broken. This is the reality for too many seniors. What's needed is a more inclusive approach to urban transport planning. Cities must expand and improve public transport systems to ensure that seniors have easy, safe access to buses, trains, and other modes of transportation. With better transit options, seniors can regain their freedom, engage with their communities, and live healthier, more independent lives. Without these improvements, many will continue to face barriers to mobility and, ultimately, independence. Number 4. Poor healthcare access. Access to healthcare is one of the most critical concerns for seniors. Yet in many Australian cities, healthcare services are either too far away, too limited, or simply unavailable when needed most. As we head into 2025, the gap in healthcare access for seniors is becoming more pronounced, and it's impacting their overall well-being. Cities like Hobart and Darwin are prime examples where seniors are forced to deal with long waiting times for medical appointments, limited availability of specialist care, and underfunded healthcare systems. For seniors who require frequent medical visits, whether for chronic conditions or routine checkups, the lack of accessible healthcare services becomes a real barrier to maintaining their health. In some areas, seniors may need to travel for hours just to reach the nearest hospital or clinic, and for those with limited mobility, this is not only impractical but dangerous. The situation becomes even more dire when you consider the mental health implications of inadequate healthcare access. Seniors who cannot access timely medical care for mental health issues like depression or anxiety are at a higher risk of mental decline and social isolation. To combat this, cities need to focus on improving healthcare accessibility for seniors, whether through the expansion of geriatric care services, mobile clinics, or better integration of senior-friendly healthcare options into local communities. Without these changes, many seniors will continue to suffer from a lack of care that's essential to their quality of life. Number 5. Safety concerns. When it comes to housing for seniors, safety is non-negotiable. However, in several Australian cities, safety concerns are becoming a serious issue for elderly residents. From high crime rates to poorly maintained neighborhoods, many seniors are feeling increasingly vulnerable in their own homes. In 2025, these issues are only becoming more prevalent, and seniors are bearing the brunt of it. Cities like Brisbane and Adelaide have seen a rise in crime rates, especially in areas with high numbers of elderly residents. Seniors, who are often seen as easy targets, are more likely to be victims of burglary, fraud, or even physical assault. This fear of crime leads many seniors to live in constant anxiety, unable to enjoy the freedom they deserve in their later years. For those living in older, run-down neighborhoods, the lack of adequate lighting, security systems, or even neighborhood patrols exacerbates the feeling of insecurity. Moreover, the design of many senior housing developments does not prioritize personal safety. Homes often lack basic security features like secure windows and doors, or have poorly lit pathways that can be hazardous at night. For seniors with mobility challenges, uneven sidewalks or neglected public areas become additional safety hazards that increase the risk of falls and injuries. We've put a lot of effort into bringing you this vital information, and now we want to hear from you. Which city do you think is the worst for senior housing? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. Don't forget, subscribing is just one click away, and it helps us bring more valuable content directly to you. Don't miss out. Number 6. Lack of social support systems. As we age, social connection becomes more important than ever, but in many Australian cities, seniors are finding themselves increasingly isolated and without the support they need. The lack of robust social support systems is one of the most overlooked issues contributing to poor housing conditions for seniors. yet it has a profound impact on their mental and physical health. In cities like Melbourne and Sydney, where the pace of life can be overwhelming, many seniors feel disconnected from their communities. Public spaces, social clubs, and even neighborhood groups specifically designed for seniors are in short supply. Without access to these social outlets, seniors can face feelings of loneliness and depression, which studies show can be as damaging to health as smoking or obesity. Imagine living in a bustling city, yet having no one to speak to on a daily basis. This is the reality for many elderly Australians. What makes this situation worse is that the lack of social support isn't just about having friends to talk to. It also means seniors are often without help when they need it most. Whether it's assistance with grocery shopping, transportation to doctor's appointments, or help during an emergency, a lack of social infrastructure puts seniors at a serious disadvantage. In cities with poor social systems, seniors are often forced to rely on their families, which isn't always an option for everyone. Number 7. Urban sprawl. Urban sprawl is a phenomenon affecting many Australian cities, and for seniors, it creates a multitude of challenges when it comes to finding suitable housing. As cities like Sydney, Melbourne, and Perth expand outward, more and more people, including seniors, are being pushed further from the city center, where essential services and amenities are more accessible. For elderly individuals, living in these suburban sprawl areas presents a unique set of problems that make their day-to-day lives significantly harder. One of the most pressing issues is the distance from key amenities like healthcare, shopping centers, and public transport. As the urban footprint grows, these important facilities tend to concentrate around the city center, while suburban areas, especially the further out suburbs, often lack the infrastructure needed for seniors. Imagine needing to visit the doctor, but the nearest healthcare center is a 30-minute drive away, a distance that can feel like an insurmountable obstacle for a senior who no longer drives. Moreover, the public transportation options in suburban areas are often limited or non-existent. Seniors who rely on buses or trains to get around can find themselves isolated in sprawling urban environments, where public transport is either too infrequent or simply doesn't reach them. This lack of mobility forces seniors to rely on others for rides or to stay home altogether. The solution lies in smart urban planning that prioritizes walkability, senior-friendly infrastructure, and mixed-use developments that bring housing, healthcare, and community spaces closer together. Without this, seniors living in suburban sprawls will continue to face significant barriers to living independently and comfortably. Number 8. Overcrowding. Overcrowding is another significant issue for seniors in Australian cities, especially in places like Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane. With housing demand continually rising, these cities are becoming increasingly packed, and as a result, seniors are often forced to live in conditions that are not only uncomfortable but can also be downright unsafe. Overcrowded neighborhoods create a unique set of challenges for elderly residents, exacerbating existing difficulties and preventing them from enjoying the quality of life they deserve. One of the most immediate issues seniors face in overcrowded areas is the lack of personal space. Imagine living in an apartment complex with multiple families, all competing for shared resources like parking spaces, elevators, or even access to communal areas. In cities where seniors are already dealing with limited mobility or health issues, navigating crowded spaces can become both physically exhausting and dangerous. For seniors, the constant bustle and noise of overcrowded environments can also lead to mental fatigue and feelings of stress, making it harder to find peace or relaxation at home. Moreover, overcrowding often leads to poor living conditions, especially in older buildings that were never designed to house so many people. In high-density areas, many seniors end up in poorly maintained buildings where basic utilities like heating or air conditioning may be outdated or inadequate. These conditions can become hazardous, particularly for seniors who are more vulnerable to temperature extremes, or who have chronic health conditions that require a comfortable living environment. The solution to overcrowding lies in smart development and urban planning that focuses on creating affordable housing options for seniors in more balanced neighborhoods. Expanding housing supply, improving the quality of rental properties, and ensuring that infrastructure keeps up with the population growth are crucial steps toward addressing the overcrowding problem. Without these changes, many seniors will continue to live in substandard conditions that compromise their health and well-being. Number 9. Rising rent prices. In many of Australia's largest cities, the rising rent prices are making it increasingly difficult for seniors to secure affordable housing. This issue is particularly concerning for elderly individuals who live on fixed incomes, such as pensions or superannuation. For seniors in cities like Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane, The cost of rent has skyrocketed in recent years, leaving many feeling financially strained and vulnerable. For example, in Sydney, the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment has surged to over $500 a week, a price that consumes a large portion of a senior's pension. In Melbourne, rent prices are similarly high, with some areas seeing rents of $450 or more for a basic one-bedroom apartment, with the average Australian pension sitting at around $1,000 to $1,500 per fortnight. Paying for rent in these cities leaves seniors with little to nothing for other necessities like food, medicine, or transportation. Many are left in the impossible position of choosing between paying rent and meeting their basic daily needs. But it's not just about unaffordable rent. The rapid rise in rent prices has led to housing insecurity for seniors across Australia. As rents climb, many are being pushed out of their long-term homes and forced to move into substandard housing or even homelessness in extreme cases. Unfortunately, the existing housing support programs are often insufficient to meet the demand, and waiting lists for affordable housing options can stretch into years. To make matters worse, landlords in high-demand cities are taking advantage of the market, raising rents frequently and often without any consideration for the financial strain it places on their tenants. This leaves many seniors in an endless cycle of financial stress and uncertainty. Number 10. Insufficient senior housing developments. As Australia's senior population continues to grow, the demand for senior-specific housing is rising faster than ever. Unfortunately, many Australian cities have been slow to respond to this growing need, resulting in a severe shortage of suitable housing options for the elderly. In 2025, the insufficient number of senior housing developments is one of the most critical issues that seniors face across major urban areas like Sydney, Melbourne, and Perth. Currently, many seniors are left with limited options when it comes to finding housing that meets their needs. In cities like Sydney, where the housing market is already extremely competitive, affordable housing units specifically designed for seniors are few and far between. While there are some retirement villages and assisted living communities, these options are often expensive and have long waiting lists, leaving many seniors stuck in homes that are either too expensive, too far from family and services, or not designed with seniors in mind. The problem becomes even more apparent when you look at the lack of new developments. In rapidly growing cities, there is an increasing gap between supply and demand, with many new housing projects not prioritizing the unique needs of the elderly population. Seniors often find themselves competing for limited housing options in areas that lack the infrastructure or services they need to live independently, such as healthcare facilities, public transport, and social support networks. This forces many to settle for less than ideal housing, or even face the risk of homelessness. Without significant investment in senior-specific housing, many elderly Australians will continue to face an uncertain future, struggling with inadequate living conditions and limited options. This issue is urgent, and the solution lies in creating housing that truly supports the needs of seniors, ensuring they can live their later years in dignity and comfort. We've explored the 10 Australian cities where housing for seniors is at its worst, and the reality is deeply concerning. From skyrocketing rent prices to lack of accessibility, poor healthcare, and rising isolation, these issues are not just statistics. They're the lived experiences of real people who have worked their entire lives and deserve better in their later years. It's clear that seniors are facing a crisis, one that demands immediate attention and action. But here's the thing: change doesn't happen on its own. It takes awareness, it takes conversation, and most importantly, it takes us working together to bring these issues to light. By understanding the challenges seniors face and demanding better solutions, we can begin to change the narrative around senior housing in Australia. Creating videos like this takes hours of research, careful consideration, and a lot of passion to ensure that we are sharing the most important information with you. We care deeply about making a difference, but we can't do it alone. If this video has opened your eyes, if you care about creating a better future for our seniors, then I ask you to please consider subscribing to our channel. It's just one click, but it means so much to us. It's how we can continue bringing you these important stories. Your support helps us create content that matters, and together we can raise awareness and drive change for the people who need it most. Please subscribe and be part of a community that cares. We appreciate you more than you know.